Hi everyone, I'm Christian and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to model this twisted tower inspired by the amazing Agora Tower by Vincent Callebaut. We'll be using simple tools in Rhino to recreate its biomorphic and sustainable design. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, there's something here for you, so stick around. Hello everyone, I hope you're doing great. In this case, I'm going to show you how you can create a 3D model based on the Agora Tower by Vincent Callebaut. But before I get started, I would like to tell you that we are not going to be covering the essential tools of Rhino, but if you want to get to know them, you can go ahead and watch our previous video. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm going to be starting off on the top view, so I'm going to be double clicking on top. And for our initial shape, I'm going to be using a circle. So I'm going to be typing in circle on the command bar and make sure to have the grid snap on, as we're going to be using it a lot on this video. And for now, I'm going to be disabling OSnap. Let's click on the origin, and this circle, it's basically going to be the core of our tower. And we're going to be using a radius of 7 meters for it. Next, I'm going to be offsetting the circle, so type in offset, and we're going to be using 2 meters, so type in 2 and left click. So we basically have our core ready. Now let's begin modeling the slabs. And to have a better idea of where to start drawing these slabs, I'm going to be placing some reference lines. So let's type in polyline on the command bar, click on the origin, and take this line on the x-axis like this. Next, I'm going to be drawing a second line, but this time on the y-axis. Now I'm going to be grabbing both of these curves and typing in tween curves to end up with an extra line. Now, grab both of these curves and again type in tween curves or simply hit the spacebar. Make sure to only have one on this number here. Alright, so we are not going to be needing these 3 curves, so go ahead and delete them. And now let's zoom in a little bit and we can start drawing our slabs, again using a simple polyline. Now that we have this reference right here, enable grid snap and activate OSnap. Let's click on this first point and now again activate grid snap because I'm going to be heavily relying on the grid snap in order to draw this slab. And then let's count 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now let's take our curve 45 degrees this way, but this time counting 2 squares. Now 3 on the left side and 2 45 degrees downwards and so on. 3 and 2. And one last time, 3, and then we are going to be closing this first half of our slab. We can now go ahead and delete our reference line, and in order to have a smoother result, I'm going to be using the fillet command to get rid of these sharp edges. So type in fillet, and I'm going to be using a radius of 2. Now select the curves that you want to fillet, so it's going to be this one and this one. Hit the spacebar and do the same thing for every corner of our curve, like so. So now it's nice and smooth. I'm going to be selecting this curve, and obviously I don't want to select our core, so hit the Ctrl key to unselect these and join it. So now we have a single curve like this. So obviously I'm not going to be repeating the process for every corner of our slab, so I'm going to just use the mirror command. Select the curve, type in mirror, mirror it on this side, and finally on this other side. For our next step, we need to create a surface out of these slabs, right? And in order to do so, we need to close these curves. So how can we do that? I'm going to be trimming and splitting this outer circle in order to end up with a closed curve. And how can we do that? With a simple line. So typing line, and I'm just going to draw a line that goes through the middle of our circle, like this. Now grab all of the curves and type in trim, in order to get rid of all of the excess curves in here. I'm also going to be grabbing the circle and I'm going to split it using these 2 curves. So this one and this one right here. This way I end up with 2 arches or semicircles. And finally, I'm going to be grabbing these 2 lines to copy and paste them. So Ctrl C and Ctrl V. Select the right snap. And as you can see, I also need to split these 2 curves. So select them like this, type in split, and I'm going to be splitting them again with these curves. Okay, so let's try that again. Select all of these curves, and don't forget to select these ones too, and type in join. Now select the left side, and we're going to be unselecting this right side with the Ctrl key. Type in join, and there we go, we have the left and right slabs. But now I also need some inner curves that we'll use to model our windows. So let's grab one side, type in offset, and 2 meters is gonna be just fine. However, as you can see, we have sharp edges again. So in order to fix this, we already know what to do. I'm going to be using the fillet command. But in this case, I'm not going to be using a radius of 2 meters, but just 1. And then again, we are going to be repeating the same process. Make sure to be using the spacebar to be way more efficient. And as you can see, I was unable to fillet this corner because our radius was too high. But I think it's safe to leave it as a sharp corner. So let's continue to this other side, fillet all of these sharp edges. Now select all of these and unselect the other curve to be able to join this curve together. Now I'm not going to be repeating the same process for this other side. So again, let's use the mirror command. Alright, so let's go to a perspective view to check out this better. Now, the total height of each floor is 4.4 meters. And the width of each slab is 40 centimeters. So let's keep that in mind. I'm going to be grabbing the inner curves and I'm going to be clicking once on the Z-axis of my gumball and dragging these by 0.4, so 40 centimeters. And now let's pick both of these and extrude them using our gumball again by 40 centimeters too. Now let's grab the curves for our windows and extrude them by 3.6 meters. Grab the bottom slabs and while pressing and holding the Alt key, click on the Z-axis again, but this time by 4 meters. And there we go. We have our first floor almost ready. However, what we need to do now is to create the balconies. And in order to see this better, I'm going to be grabbing these two slabs and isolate them with the isolate command. Press Ctrl plus Shift to select the top surfaces and type in dot border. Now type in isolate again and we end up with our initial curves. But what I really want is just the outer outline. So let's trim them by grabbing them like this. Type in trim and get rid of the inner curves. Now select both of them, join them together. And you guessed it right, we are going to be using the offset command again. But this time let's just use an offset of 0.2 meters, which is 20 centimeters obviously. Select it and let's give it a height of a handrail, which is around 0.8 meters or 80 centimeters. But we don't want a solid like this. We only want the outer surface. So go ahead and delete with Ctrl plus Shift these two surfaces. And we can also give them a subtle thickness, for which I'm going to be using the command offset srf or offset surf. Flip the direction of this offset with the F key and let's use 0.05 to end up with a very subtle thickness. And we can get rid of all of our curves by selecting them with Celsius V and hitting the delete key. Now let's type in show and we can go ahead and copy this handrail by using the copy command. Click on vertical, pick this point right here and drag it upwards like so. Alright, awesome. So for our next step, we're going to be duplicating these floors 21 times. And how can we do this easily? We can go ahead and grab all of these objects, so all of the top objects, and group them together. Now let's use the array linear command. And in the number of items, I'm going to be typing in 21. Now it's asking me for our reference point, which is going to be this balcony right here. So we can click on this intersection and drag it all the way up until we match the same intersection but on the other floor, like so. And there we go. At this point, I think it's a good idea to extrude our core. So let's go ahead and grab our circle down here, which is made up of these two curves. Isolate them, and by using the Ctrl plus Shift keys, I can actually select our circle. But as you can see, it is attached to all of the curves, and in order to detach them, we can copy and paste it. So I'm going to be using Ctrl plus C and get rid of all of these curves and then Ctrl plus V like so. Now select them and join them together. Type in show on the command bar. Extrude this circle all the way up. Alright, so now for our next trick, we're going to be rotating each floor incrementally. And you can try rotating them from 3 degrees to 7 degrees. So go ahead and select the first floor and make sure that it is grouped together. So grab all of the objects and group them together. I'm going to be starting with a degree of 4. And then the next one, it's going to be by 8. And one thing that you have to be very careful with is that you need to make sure that no object is intersecting. So make sure of that. We are good. If you have any intersections between floors, just use a lower degree. And this one is going to be 12 and so on and so forth. This one is going to be 16. This one is going to be 20. And I'm actually going to be speeding up this process a little bit so that you don't get bored. And the last one is going to be by 88 degrees. All right. So this is looking really, really good. For our next step, what I'm going to do is to grab the top floor and I'm going to be ungrouping it. Because what I want to do is to select both of these slabs, so select them both, and by holding the Alt key, I'm going to be dragging them upwards like this with my gumball. Now finally, we need the structure for our core, which is easier than you think. And in order to create it, I'm going to go into a front view. So double click here, and the structure actually has a diamond pattern. So I can create this diamond pattern by using a simple polyline, and I'm going to be using the grid snap. So make sure that it is on, start from this point, count around 3 squares in this direction, and then on this other direction. Finally, you can go ahead and mirror it like always, because it's way more efficient. Grab both of these, join them, and we can offset this by 0.5 meters, use the copy command, or actually we can use the array linear command. Select objects to array, we have all of these, and the number of items, let's leave it at 10. Now go ahead and grab this point right here and place it right here. Make sure that you are creating an intersection with the original diamond. Alright, awesome, but this might be a bit too much. I'm going to lower the scale with the gumball and make sure to be pressing the shift key so that you end up with a proportional scaling. Now that you have the initial pattern, we have to trim all the excess curves. So select all of it and use the trim command. And you can start trimming all of these curves because we really don't need them, like so. It can be a little bit time consuming, but I assure you that it is going to be worth it. Alright, and the last one. Great. And now we need to trim the bottom and top part of our pattern. So I'm going to be grabbing a line, so typing line, enable the bottom section. And we can start from this point right here. So make sure that you are basically drawing a line between these two corners. Like so. Now we can copy it downwards. Again, make sure that it is on the center point. Grab the pattern and trim the upper part. Delete both of these curves, join them together, and again use the array linear command. But this time, make sure that you are going to be copying it 15 times. Again, activate the O-snap, grab this point right here, and drag it upwards, like so. And now, in order to create surfaces out of this pattern, I'm going to show you a quick trick. Type in plane on the command bar, and draw a surface underneath our pattern, like so. Make sure to center it correctly. Now grab the surface, and type in split. And we're going to be splitting it with all of these curves that we just created. Now let's go to a perspective mode. And now you can see that we end up with this surface right here. We no longer need this other surfaces, so go ahead and delete it. And finally, I'm going to be giving it a thickness. Let's give it a thickness of 0.5 meters. And there we go. Now the only thing left to do is to combine this pattern with our core. So select both of them and isolate them. But we need an extra surface, which is going to serve us as a reference. So type in plane again and place it behind our pattern one more time. Now let's go to a perspective view and make sure that this is actually behind our pattern, like so, and type in the flow along surface command. Now it's telling me to select the objects to flow along a surface, which is going to be our pattern. Press the spacebar or enter, and it says that we need to specify the base surface. Make sure to grab this corner down here, and our target surface is going to be our core. Go ahead and pick a point near this intersection. And there you go. Now we need to delete this pattern because we no longer need it, and type in show to see the whole 3D model. Let's take these two slabs upwards a little bit. And there you have it, guys, a 3D model based on the Agora Tower by Vincent Callebaut. And that's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed learning how to model this twisting tower and found inspiration for your own designs. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Let me know in the comments if there's a project or concept you'd like me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.